before we perform our first calculations, we want to make sure that our data is formatted so that Excel can know exactly what type of data it's working with. We notice if we select any one of the cells on the Home tab ribbon in the number grouping, it's showing as general data. By leaving these as general data, we're leaving it up to Excel to know whether or not it can use it as a calculation. We want to make sure that we are working with the right type of data. In our unit price column, we're dealing with currency. So we'll select the column and we can select currency. Now, this isn't wrong, but by putting the $ so close to the first number in our currencies, it makes it hard to read. Best accounting practices say that the symbol always goes on the far left, leaving enough space for the currency. And Excel allows us to then select the accounting number format, either here or in this drop-down, we can select accounting. Next, in the quantity column, our numbers are showing as general. And it's probably not wrong. Excel is going to understand that these are numerical. However, for consistency, we want to be the ones in control. So we'll select the E column and we'll select number. Notice when we select number, our number of decimal points has shot out to 2, which is a standard. We can increase or decrease our decimal points by selecting one of these two options. So we can decrease the decimal point by 2. And last, looking at our order date column, while Excel understands that it is a date, in the United States, we generally put month, then day, then year. If we select the More Options button in the number grouping, we see that Excel has it formatted as a date, and currently it's using this format, and it shows us a sample here. If instead we want to use this format, it'll show us the sample here. And we can go all the way down to a long date using the full year 4-character designation. And we could select OK. Oops, it only did the one cell. Let's go back and do that again for the entire column. And now we see that there's nothing specific here. That's because one cell is different than the rest. We're going to choose date and we'll select the 4-character year option and OK. It already understood that this was text and it couldn't be formatted, even though it says date. So let's go ahead and turn that back to general. Now we're ready to perform our first calculations. Let's insert a column between quantity and customer. We select the customer column and insert a column. And let's call this total, because we can find a total of this sale by multiplying the unit price times the quantity. And once again, this column is going to be currency, because quantity times unit price is going to give us a total price. And now we want to enter the formula. Any formula in Excel will always start with the equal sign. We'll zoom in so that we can all see it a little easier. So we start with an equal, And we said that we wanted 14 times 12. And when we select our enter key, it will give us an answer. It will calculate 14 times 12. And notice that we're also seeing the formula in the formula bar. And before we select enter, let's discuss this symbol. On a computer, the X does not mean multiplication. It's the asterisk, which is found above the 8 numerical key on the keyboard. And if we were dividing, which we're not, but if we're dividing, there is no division symbol on your keyboard. You will be using the backslash. Let's change that back to a multiplication, and when we select enter, it gives us our answer. Now, even though it gave us the correct answer, we would have to enter a formula all the way down this column for over 2,000 rows. We don't want to do that. We want Excel to do the work for us. So the correct way to do the formula is not an absolute formula like that. We want it to start with the equal key, but we want to tell it to multiply this cell times this cell, or D2 times E2. And when we select the enter key, we see that it gives us the same answer, but if we were to change any one of the pieces of the information in here, let's change this to a 10, we notice that it recalculates for us. That's one of the great beauties about using formulas that use the cell designations. The next reason to use that is instead of having to enter a formula in each of the cells in all of the rows, we can select our handlebar and notice how the cursor turns from the very thick fat plus sign into a small black plus sign. We hold the mouse down and drag down through, and we see that it fills in the numbers for us. And we would do that all the way to the bottom. The other way that you could fill the series is by starting in the first cell, scrolling all the way down to the bottom, holding your shift key, selecting the last cell, and then we would select fill down. And the same thing happens. Now it filled in the answers all the way to the bottom. And one last thing to notice before we're done with the simple calculation video is what happens if the column that our numbers enter in after the formula is calculated is not wide enough. What happens then? Let's take a look. If we select in between the F and the G column and move to the left, we've just made the column smaller. What happened to all of our answers? All we're seeing are hashtags. The hashtag is just telling you that your column isn't wide enough. You'll notice as we click on any one of the cells, in the formula bar, the formula is still there. When we widen out the column, we notice that now visually the answers to those formulas are there. In the next video, we'll work more with calculations.